In this module, we're going to talk about the subquery. What is a subquery? Subquery is a select statement embedded in the class of another select statement. So right here, I have a select statement, and in the where class portion of it, or having class portion of this query, I have another select statement. So you're going to grab a result of that subquery and pass it to the where class of the outside query. So it is somehow, we can say this is a nested query. It is a query within the query. So we can say we're using a subquery to solve a query. We use this subquery right here to solve this query right here. Let's look at this example. I have a select statement, select the first name of employee where the salary, well, the salary of the employee number 20. So this one generate a single output, one salary. If it generated more than one salary value, it gonna cause some error for single subquery. So it generates a single value, and this single value, for example, is 5,000 greater than the salary, and then it return an output for where the salary greater than $5,000, then it return the row or rejecting to return the row. A subquery which is generated only a single value, we call it single row subquery. It's known by single row subquery. A subquery which is generate more than one result, for example, select salary from employee where the job ID is IT programmer. This subquery generated more than one output. Because it generated more than one output, we call it multiple row subquery. So this is the differentiation between single row subquery and multiple row subquery. Here's the normal syntax format for a subquery, that as we said, we have expression right here, for example, salary greater, and then it's going to result a value from this subquery to this expression. Here a more clear example of that one. This subquery generated salary for 11,000, and in this 11,000 greater than this salary, so it just the result of this expression right here generate an output, the result of this expression. So one more example, we're going to say a subquery normally return a single value as the result, and multiple row subquery you're going to return multiple value in for the expression that we comparing the where clause. Let's run the first example that we have right here. So the result, if I run, I having this subquery and taking, and okay, let me start the Oracle. As you can see, this subquery that I have right here, if I run it, it generates right here a result, and that result is 7,000. And in fact, I can run this query, and for the subquery portion of this one, I'm going to put it 7,000. And then I can run this query, and as the result, it's going to return to me 51 row. Well, I can do it in the complete format like this one, and copy and execute it in the SQL prompt, and it generated the same result. However, it returned 16 row. Let me see why. Here's the example, the correct example. If select first name 7,000, I put it right here, and as a result, if I run it, it generate 16 row. And if I copy everything, let's say comment out this one and run everything, it's supposed to generate the same result. And you're going to see that this one also returns 16 rows. Now, and the question is, in this single row subquery, can we use a group by function? If we want to use a group by function, we have to use it with the having. Let me show you an example. Let's look at this example. I have right here, select department ID means salary from employee. Then because I have a single item and a group item mix it to each other, so I have to use the group by department ID, which is a single one. So by using this group ID, I won't get any error when I execute this one. Now, if I would like to put where mean salary, which is, we call it right here, means this in the having area or in the where clause area, if I use any function, we call it aggregate function. It's known by aggregate function. So from now on, I'm going calling any group function in the where clause area, in the filtering area, we call it aggregate function. So if I have an aggregate function right here, mean salary greater than, and right here it generate a salary for department 50, it generate a single output, which is the result of that one, 2,500. So if I'm going to say where mean salary greater than 2,000, it generate me a compilation error, execution error, because we cannot use the single row operator and group function with where clause. If I want to use group function, which is, we call it aggregate function, we have to replace the where clause with the having clause. So by replacing the where clause with the having and having an aggregate function, then it can return a single value from single row subquery and execute generator result. Let's see the execution of this code. Here I'm going to paste the code right here and I'm going to execute it and it generate me output. Let me maximize it to you can see the screen better. See, this is our group function and this is our having clause. Let's change this one to a where clause. Let's go to line number 4 by putting 4 right here. I'm going to line number 4. I'm going to say change having to a where. Okay, I'm putting a where G. Let's say change G to nothing. And where now, if I'm going having this code and executing this one, you're going to see it generate me an error because we cannot use in the aggregate function. Anytime we're using aggregate function, we have to use aggregate function with the having clause. So yes, in the single row function we can use having with aggregate function. In single row clause, single row comparison operator, which they are equal, greater, less than equal, not equal, greater or equal, less than is equal, we can use the having, we can use aggregate function is we using the having instead of the where clause. Here's another interesting example. We may using a select statement, but in our where clause we already spoke about this one, that I have one where clause right here in one subquery in my where clause. But how about if I have multiple subquery in where clause? Yes, the relation could be, we can use the AND relation or relation if I have multiple subquery. For example, job ID is equal to Tyler and salary greater than salary of the Tyler. So this relation, this one should be true, this subquery should be true, and result of this one is true, so we're going to return a true, and then job ID, this one should be true. So this one true statement, this one, this was salary, and right here one another statement which should be in the subquery we have to have true. So let's put it this way, this part of the expression should be true, this part of the expression should be true, so it generates a true result for us. Here is generating an error because I'm using a single row operator right here, which is a single row subquery, and this is a group function which is a multiple row subquery. As a result, it generates for us an error. Solution to this problem is that I have to change this single row operator to a group by operator, and group by operator, as we said, we have two of it. One of them is any, the other one is all. If I change the salary greater or less than, greater than or less than any or all, then it generates a right output. So if I change it, just changing this one greater or equal, greater or equal, I'm going to putting a equal right here. And now if I executed this subquery, then this one now is group by subquery, and as the result it generates us the output, as you can see. And it brings us to the concept of multiple row subquery, which I go to the another slide.